Hi, I'm Brendan Hogan, co-owner of Impossible Acoustic, and we are here in the rainy, gray, and lovely Ballard, Washington, at our shop. I got into audio through music, like a lot of people. There's not a lot of sound design classes for 5-year-olds out there, but there are piano lessons and music lessons, so that's, like a lot of people, that was my first introduction to the world of sound. But from an early age, playing with tape recorders and recording the toilet flushing in your own voice and that sort of thing always really excited me. It's
been a lifelong...
Yeah, it's been a lifelong thing, a lifelong interest for sure. Went to college for music, studied music in college. I was really interested in composition, wanted to be a film composer. Went to school for just sort of music basics, then ethnomusicology of all things, and then back to school again for music production and the more sort of technical side of things. It's kind of early days. I was living in a town, Olympia, Washington, that didn't have like a big film scene. And so as somebody who was interested in film composing, I was thinking, how can I get some practical hands-on experience? I didn't know any directors. So I got this idea of making radio dramas. So I was working at a local college radio station. I had a radio show. So I started making some audio dramas. I wrote some scripts, and I was like, I'll make these scripts, I'll do it, and I'll do the music for them. And while I was doing the music for it, I was like, well, these need sound effects as well. And then I discovered just the power of sound effects to create a sense of a world and a sense of a story, and really fell in love with that. And that kind of eclipsed music in a way. And I just decided to do a deep dive on the sound effects side of things. I love, like I said, its ability to create worlds. I had an internship at a studio here in town, one of the larger studios, and they did a lot of commercial work during the day, and they did indie film work at night. So when I was done with my internship, they hired me back from the 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift, working on independent films, and I got a chance to work on some really great films. Safety Not Guaranteed was one of the first films I worked on, and it ended up being released nationally. So that was a huge, fabulous experience. And I met Jamie working on a film called Eden. Once again, the middle of the night shift, he and I were doing Foley together for that film. It's kind of a harrowing, darker film, so we sort of bonded over the challenge of working on that content in the middle of the night.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hunsdale, and we're hanging out here in Seattle, specifically beautiful Ballard down by the docks. It's nice down here, right by the water. A little rainy, sometimes some fun noises outside, but we like it down here. Yeah, I got involved in audio, I think, like a lot of people, because I wanted to record music, and I figured out really fast that recording bands that you don't like is not a lot of fun. So I met somebody that worked for National Geographic that was doing sound design for nature documentaries, and I thought, hey, I'm really into that a lot more than recording bands that I don't like. So I started down the path of post-production, which led me to a studio downtown called Bad Animals. And that's where I cut my teeth as a Foley artist, working on feature films, as well as TV and radio, motion graphics, all kinds of advertising, and really got my feet wet in general as a sound designer, and found out that I love Foley. After that, I decided to quit after I worked there for 5 years and went freelance, and was working late night on a project with an engineer named Brendan Hogan, and we were joking about it late at night, like, hey, what if we just started our own company and did this ourselves? And that's when Impossible Acoustic started. Yeah, so I met Brendan during a session. We were working on a film. He was engineering, I was doing Foley. We talked about starting the company, and we continued to talk about it. And then we started throwing names around and ideas, and decided to give it a go. At that time, Brennan was living on the other side of the city in West Seattle, and we'd work remotely. I was living up north in Woodinville, so we were very remote. And then we brought it all together in a classic startup format in Brennan's basement, and it was just the two of us working at stand-up desks back to back with our headphones on for several years. And that's where we started working together like every day and working on projects much more collaboratively, and things started growing. I was living on a sailboat at the time, and I was like driving all the way to West Seattle, and we were growing, so we needed a space to have voiceover recordings be a little bit easier. So I found this spot, and I started working here because it was closer to home. And then we got back into a virtual studio model, and been doing that ever since. So now we got a little bit more space. We're still spread out across the city, but it works really good for us. We work on all kinds of projects. It's one of the funnest parts about this gig. It could be a mayonnaise commercial, it could be a sci-fi feature film, it could be recording voiceover for TV and radio ads. It could be giant music videos for the next big Colombian superstar. It really varies all the time.
What's the biggest challenge of running your own studio?
The biggest challenge of running your own studio is holding yourself accountable and inspiring yourself when you're by yourself. So sometimes, for me, it helps when I can bounce ideas off of people, and sometimes not even project-specific ideas, more just like talking. Like, I get fueled by being around other personalities and people. So, sometimes I get my fix by just going to 7-Eleven for 10 minutes and talking to the people working there, and I come back and I suddenly have new ideas to use when I'm sound designing. So I think that's the hardest part for me, is keeping that inspiration hot.